I've spent the past 7 years traveling the world perfecting my craft. You see, I'm something of a magician, inventor, and chocolate maker. So quiet up and listen down. Nope, scratch that, reverse it.
This week on Talking About the Movies, come with me and you'll be in a world of pure imagination. Or at least that's what Warner Brothers is hoping as they cast Dune star Timothée Chalamet as Willy Wonka and enlist the director of Paddington, Paul King, to tell the story of how Willy became Wonka. Plus, we also get a chance to finally talk about what has been one of the most talked about movies of the year and one of the year's biggest surprises. Do I find that to be the case? We talk about Godzilla Minus One. It's a double feature this week on Talking About the Movies. And welcome to another episode of Talking About the Movies, where, of course, on this show we talk about the biggest new releases of the weekend, and there's no bigger new release this weekend than Wonka. We're also going to take a look at a movie that's been coming up out of nowhere over the last couple of weeks. I finally got around to checking it out this week, and that is Godzilla Minus One. We'll get to that one a little bit later on in the show. But let's start off, of course, with the biggest new release of the weekend, and that is, of course, Timothée Chalamet as Wonka. So Wonka is, of course, the prequel to the Willy Wonka and the Chocolate Factory storyline. It tells the origin story of Willy Wonka, played by Timothée Chalamet, and basically shows his early days as a chocolatier, trying to get his own shop, but realizes that the other chocolate owners are pretty much part of a chocolate cartel, so kind of like a chocolate mafia in a way, and they'll do whatever it takes to make sure that Wonka doesn't get any traction at all. But of course, as we know, the story goes, that is not the case whatsoever. But with the Willy Wonka movies, I've talked about it before. Willy Wonka and the Chocolate Factory, the Gene Wilder one from 1971. It's one of my favorite movies of all time, so I kind of hold that one to a high standard, and that's the one that really is the topper for obvious reasons. I mean, it's got great music, great casting, great storytelling, great bizarre moments all around. It's a very dark movie, even though it's a lighthearted family film at the same time. Charlie and the Chocolate Factory, the Tim Burton one, I don't think it's as good as Willy Wonka, but I do admire it for what it was trying to do, and I do like a lot of elements of that film too. I like that Tim Burton put his own spin on it, and more importantly, I think it works for its own unique, bizarre ways. Kind of like how the original works in its own unique, bizarre ways. Johnny Depp, he's fine in there, although he looks like it looks like if Willy Wonka was Michael Jackson. I think that was something that's been a complaint ever since that came out, but the style of the film looks pretty cool. The visuals look pretty cool. There are a couple of decent moments here and there. It's fun. It's fun in its own unique way. And this one, I think, had a lot of big shoes to fill. This new one here. The trailer right from the get-go had me concerned about how this movie was going to play out. Even though I like this director, Paul King, who did the Paddington movies, which I love those movies. And that was the only the real reason I was really looking forward to checking this one out. But when I saw that first trailer, my concern really was Timothée Chalamet as Willy Wonka. I felt that in the trailer he was trying way too hard to be a little too much like Gene Wilder, like he's using lines that Wilder would have used, and he's doing it in that weird kind of way that Wilder perfected in that original film. And I wasn't it's like I kind of wanted him to try his own to do his own thing with it. And I think at first, I didn't think he really did that well. I thought that was actually one of the that was one of those things that kind of took me out of the movie right out of the get-go. But I'll admit, as the film went on, and I got more accustomed to what Chalamet was bringing to the table here, I personally thought he did a decent job with it. I don't think it's anything too spectacular. I don't think it's the best performance from Wonka of a Willy Wonka character in general, but I thought he did as good of a job as he could have. It could have easily been so much like a ripoff of other versions of this character, but it's a little distracting at first. But once the movie went along, I kind of bought into it, mostly. Note that it's going to be one of the few positives I have for this movie, because honestly, this is probably one of the biggest letdowns I've had in a long, long time in terms of a movie. Like, I really was disappointed coming out of that movie theater. I thought that the movie was, let's just put it this way, it's one of the most, it's a boring movie, man. Like, it's a really, really boring movie. And a movie about Willy Wonka and the stuff that he could do should not be boring by any means necessary. And a movie by Paul King, who gave us the Paddington movies, which were so unique and so incredible in their own way, there's no reason why this movie should be as boring as it is. I mean, I thought the ideas that they were setting up were very fun. I like the idea that all the other chocolatiers are kind of part of this chocolate mafia in a way, chocolate cartel, as they put it in the movie. And like I said, they're doing whatever it takes to make sure that Willy Wonka does not make a successful career out of what he's trying to do here. That's a fun idea. The execution, not so much. I thought the execution of it really... The problem is it doesn't really do anything different or spectacular that we haven't seen done over and over again. All the things that you expect to see in a movie like this are in this movie. I mean, there's the part where Willy Wonka realizes that the other chocolatiers hate him. There's a part where the people that are involved in the people that are keeping Willy Wonka hostage pretty much in the movie are working against him to make sure that he does not become successful, which I don't know. Like, it's like, I thought maybe it doesn't make a whole lot of sense, but then again, that's kind of what is, but then again, maybe they like the fact that they keep people like him hostage in that basically a little brothel that they're in, kind of. Is that the word I want to use here? Brothel? Boarding house, I should say, not a brothel. Brothel is something completely different than what I'm thinking of, but, the chocolatiers use the people who own this boarding house that's keeping him hostage and basically using everything in their power to make sure that he does not become successful. And then you got to have that big twist where it's really hard. You think it's going to be super hard to figure out, but I figured it out pretty quickly as soon as they basically said it. It's just like, and I thought that Willy Wonka knew exactly what was going to happen, and then as soon as they revealed that, it's just like, no, it's like he's just as surprised as this person is. It's just like, dude, you figured it out. You figured it out when you were on the ship. Like, how did you not know it when it actually gets revealed to you? Like, this movie has elements that should be so easy to figure out, and yet they go the long way, the long con to it's just like pad it out so they can get to a specific running time that they have to get to here, and it just gets so annoying. The bad guys in here are not that interesting whatsoever. Like, they are not engaging characters whatsoever, and you get so bored by them pretty quickly in this movie. Like, the performances really are not that good. Like, one character alone just does nothing but just says random things because that's a tick to them. Like, another person just, like, he gets sick when he hears the word poor, and the main guy, Arthur Slugworth, is just such... I don't know what kind of a performance he wants to do here in this. Like, he's really not... Like, these people that should be so fun to watch. Like, I want to see the bad guys be a fun aspect to the movie here, and they're just not. They are just really lackluster characters, and that really is one of the biggest problems with the movie in general. Most of the characters in here are not good, well-written characters. They are so boring at times, and it's just like you can't get invested in most of these characters, with a couple of exceptions, which I'll get to in a little bit. Willy Wonka's basically friend who becomes his assistant, Noodle. I didn't think she was terrible, but I don't think she really did a whole lot per se that really made her anything that special overall. Kind of like with everybody else in here, they're just kind of playing a character that they're supposed to be in a story like this. And again, you're supposed to have those elements, like there's going to be this big heist to get the answers here that's going to help Willy Wonka in the end. And sure enough, what happens? The bad guys catch on pretty quickly, and like, gotta have a climax here, which really is not all that interesting or exciting. And even the characters who are in danger here look at the situation just like they have no emotions whatsoever. Like, they have no response to what's going on at all that a normal person would have in that situation if they have to be in there. And like I said, man, just too many cliched elements to this movie that just really dings this movie in the process. It's just like, it's like a cliff note somebody had. Like, okay, we gotta have this, we gotta have this, we gotta have this. We can't have anything unique or original here to work with here. And for the most part, that's where the movie really, really struggles to get itself going. Like, it's just like, something like this should be more interesting than it should be. Like the set pieces are nice, but you're only really going to three different places. You're going inside the place where the chocolate cartel meet. You go into the Galleria, and then you go into the sporting house. That's it. Like, you really do not go anywhere else except for like brief segments in different places where the visual aspect doesn't really help all that much. It just, I don't know. Like, I wanted more from this movie, honestly. But with that said, though, there are elements I did like about it. I liked that once the film got going and I got more invested into what Chalamet was bringing into the character of Willy Wonka, I thought it worked pretty well. I thought they did a pretty good job of handling that. When Hugh Grant shows up as the Oompa Loompa, I thought from the trailer, I thought that was going to be something that was going to be really interesting. Like, he doesn't have a whole lot to do in the movie, but when he show up, you could tell that Hugh Grant really was, like, he really was getting into this character. Like, he really was, he said, hey, I see the possibility here. I'm going to make it work. And I liked him a lot in this movie. In fact, I've liked Hugh Grant a lot the last couple of years. I like that he's kind of stepping out of being the rom-com actor that we knew him for a long period of time and actually doing something more. And I like that he looked at this and said, you know what, I'm going to put my own spin on this. And he actually made it work. I thought he did a pretty good job at that. Keegan-Michael Key, I thought, was really good as the chief of police. I thought he had the best, excuse me, I thought he had the best lines in the movie. He has probably one of the best scenes in the movie where he's basically waterboarding Willy Wonka by saying, "Hey, the chocolate cart guys want me to tell you something. Don't sell chocolate in this town." And he's like waterboarding him while he's doing it. He's just like, "You hear me?" And Willy Wonka's just like, "No, I didn't." He does it again. He's just like, "Now do you hear me?" And just like, my head's underwater. He's just kind of like, "Okay, yeah, that makes sense." Like stuff like that, I thought works very well. I thought he actually did a pretty good job of getting a lot of the good comedic moments in this movie. When the emotional moments have to come in, I think they're okay. I like this relationship. I like that Sally Hawkins, who's really not in the movie all that much as the trailers make it out to be. You pretty much see most of her scenes in the trailer, but even when she's in those scenes, like, you could tell that she puts her all into this role here that really is kind of useless. It really is kind of a pointless thing except to drive the story along. That's one of those things I really didn't like, that the fact that Willy Wonka really thought that his mother was going to be there when the day that he becomes the chocolatier we know him to be. And I don't know, I just thought that was a little bit too much for him on that front. But I thought Sally Hawkins was pretty good for the little role that she was in. The musical numbers are actually pretty good. There are a couple of musical numbers in here that I thought were very well done. When the set pieces, like I said, work pretty good. There was another one I forgot to mention, the zoo. The zoo scene, I think, probably is when they go to the zoo for the first time and they get the milk from the giraffe and they have this musical number here. I think it's a very good. I think that's probably my favorite scene in the movie, where they're doing this song and the musical sequence that is very well done, using the elements of the zoo to create the sequence as a whole. And it's a nice song that they put in there too. There's one other character I thought was good, but I kind of wish they did more with him. It's Rowan Atkinson. I mean, it's Rowan Atkinson. Of course, he's Mr. Bean, but he's done a ton of other great stuff here. And usually he'll be a delight whenever he comes on screen. And here, he's great in here too, but I kind of wish they did more with him, honestly. Like, he's not in there as much as I thought he would be, but I guess he's fine for what it is, but I really wish they would have done more with him. In terms of the other people that help Wonka out, I thought they were just kind of not really. I just thought they were just okay. I really thought they could have been so much better, but they all have to have their own, like, little traits. Like, one guy is an older businessman who's an accountant. One of them's got to be the funny guy. You know, that type of is the bad comedian. That's what I'm trying to say. But like, yeah, they didn't really bring anything new to the table with the characters in general. That's a lack of interesting characters. That's just one of the elements that really made me not buy into this like a lot of people did. I'm probably going to be one of the few, not even negative reviews, but people that are just kind of like, I don't get what you guys are seeing with this movie, because it's really not that great of a movie. It's not bad. It's not a bad movie by any means, but like, I didn't hate it, but really, I just wanted so much more from it. I mean, you've got the pieces there to make something great. You've got a great director. You've got a great idea. You got a really good actor who it seems like I'm hating on more than I'm liking, but I do like Timothée Chalamet as an actor. I just don't think every movie that he's done is that great as a whole. Like, I think he's given a good performance in the Dune movies, but even in Dune, but I don't even then in that movie, I don't think it's that great of a film. But at least it's gonna say, hey, we're gonna get another movie to expand on this world. So hopefully Dune Part 2 actually turns out to be good. But other than that, though, I really was let down by Wonka. I mean, I wanted so much more from it. I wanted to have that same magic that I had with the first Willy Wonka movie, and even with Charlie and the Chocolate Factory. Like, but this is just the problem with doing a prequel. prequel to something that doesn't really need a prequel. I mean, really, what new element was added to this that we that already know from the original storyline? I don't think there really was anything there, and I don't know if it's just because, I don't know if it was because of the script or what Warner Brothers wanted, but I did not enjoy. I really came out of this really let down. Like, it really was one of the more disappointing things that happened to me that day when I went to go see this movie, and it's a shame because the potential is there, everything is there. It's just not it just doesn't deliver the finished product that I was hoping for. I don't know. Like, I was really let down by it. I really don't want to do this because I was going back and forth if I should give this a mixed review or have a thumbs down on it. But the more I think about it, because of everything that it was building towards, because of everything that it was leading up to, I have no choice but to give this a thumbs down. A marginal thumbs down, but a thumbs down nonetheless. Like, I really was expecting a whole lot more from it, but I was really let down by the end result. So. But then again, I'm just the only one. I'm sure a lot of other people are going to love it. I didn't. So that was Wonka. But let's go ahead and move on to the other movie that I saw yesterday, and that is Godzilla Minus One. So in Godzilla Minus One, the story is that you have this surviving kamikaze pilot who, feeling as if he had unfairly treated Dev too many times, he ends up getting attacked on Toho Island along with many warplane engineers by a gargantuan monster. After the engineers die due to Shikishima failing to distract the monster, an overwhelming amount of guilt weighs on him, especially after a homeless woman and a baby move into his home when he returns. Now on a personal mission, he teams up with a large group of veterans to finally take down the monster known as Godzilla. This is one of the many Toho movies, and I'm not going to go into every single one of them because we're going to be here for 20-30 minutes easily if we go through every single one of these movies, which I have not seen. I have the Godzilla Criterion Collection in my home here, but I have not been able to watch every single one of them. I have watched the original Godzilla, the one from the 1950s, which is a really good movie, and I've seen, of course, the American ones. The Roland Emmerich one's a piece of garbage. But I've liked the ones that have come out from Warner Brothers in the last 10 years, pretty much 10 years now. Good Lord, that first Godzilla movie is almost 10 years old. Yeah, I like Godzilla. I like Godzilla King of the Monsters. I like Godzilla vs. Kong. The biggest problem with those movies in general, I think, but really with most of the Godzilla movies is that the human characters are not that interesting. They're not enjoyable whatsoever, and most of the time, they really are part of the problem with why the monsters are attacking them, which I think really comes into play with this film because this movie's been getting a lot of praise. It's been getting unusually high praise. Like, it's not just a praise from the typical movie thing you get from a film like this, but no. This movie actually does something very, very different and very, very unique. And quite frankly, I'm amazed by what they were able to do here, honestly, because really, I could see what everyone was talking about here, because this really is one of the year's biggest surprises. A movie that literally comes out of nowhere and just really delivers something incredible on its own merits. I mean, this isn't just a good Godzilla movie. This is a good, great, fun action movie. I mean, this is a really well-done film with some great visuals from a company that doesn't have the big, $100 million budgets like we do here in the U.S. I mean, this is made in Japan. They do whatever they can with whatever money they have to make stuff like this work. And look at what they're able to do here. I mean, they use the kaiju metaphor for some pretty good social commentary that really is impressive to think about. Like I said, the visuals are very good. I mean, when Godzilla does what he does best, I mean, that's where a lot of the fun factor comes into play here. But the one thing that this movie does that really works in its own way is the way that they're able to make good human characters that you really relate to and you really want to get behind. And that's something that I think is really amazing about this movie, because like I said, most of the biggest problems with the Godzilla movies is that the human characters are kind of stock. They're either stock characters or they're characters that add to the problem that brings the monsters around in the first place and do nothing, and they think that they're going to help themselves in the end, but they're actually causing problems for the real bad guys of those movies, not the monsters themselves, but these other human characters. Just like the bad guys are supposed to be the monsters, not the human characters. I mean, Godzilla King of the Monsters is the prime example of that, where you have Vera Farmiga working with the bad guys, thinking that it's going to bring her son back, and then at the end, it's just like, oh no, she's just working for the bad guys, and then they completely lied to her. It's just like, what did you think was going to happen? But in this movie, they actually have characters that you do want to get behind. You do want to get involved in their storyline here. You have this pilot who's been through so much turmoil, throughout his years, stuff that he cannot, is at times he cannot control. He's trying to do whatever he can to be the hero of the situation that he's in, and they do a really good job of handling that. And I think they do a phenomenal job of creating a great character that you want to get behind. I'm trying to see who this actor is. Rinosuke Kamiki, I think he is. He's really good in the movie. He really carries the emotional weight of the story in this, and I think it does a phenomenal job of handling this element here that really, you do want to get behind him. You do want to get behind these characters in general. I think for the most part, most of them are really good, well-done characters. There's a couple of characters here or there that they're kind of your typical characters, but they're very few and far between. They're not the ones that are just kind of there to just be... Not everybody here is just there to be a stock character. You actually want to get behind most of these characters. And really, that's something I think has been missing from a lot of the Godzilla movies for so many years. And I think they do a really good job with that. The visuals in here are really well done. The fact that this thing cost under $15 million and the way that they're able to do as much as they're able to do here is amazing to think about. It's really something that, I could see why everybody was so excited for this movie when it came out, and everyone was talking about, you need to see this movie. You can't make a list of the best movies of the year if you're not including this film there. Well, this one is going to definitely be, it may not be on the best of the year list, but it might definitely be, it will more than likely be on my honorable mentions list, because I have so many other movies that I found personally more enjoyable than this. But at the same time, though, I really do like this movie a lot. I think this is definitely one of the best movies of the year. It's going to be very close. It actually makes my top 10. I would have to re-look at my list again just to see if there's anything there that I really did not like less than I did this, because I think this one is definitely closing in on being on that list of my top movies of the year. But again, I'd have to double check again and actually go through the list again. But regardless, I really like this movie a lot. I think everyone that says that this movie is as good as it is, they are spot on here. This is definitely one of the best, not only one of the best Godzilla movies, but definitely one of the best surprises of the year. The movie that kind of pretty much came out of nowhere, honestly, for a lot of people, unless you're really big Godzilla fans and Toho fans. This is definitely well worth a watch, and I definitely recommend checking this movie out. I give this movie a big thumbs up. If it's still playing in your theater, definitely go out and see it, because you will not be disappointed by it. Even if you're not the biggest Godzilla fan, you can still find a lot to admire about this movie, just for the way that it presents itself, the way they tell the story, the way they create these very unique characters. The action sequences are top-notch, the music is great, the writing is top-notch, the direction, everything. Fantastic stuff. I can't recommend this one enough. Definitely see it. Godzilla Minus One. See it. You will not be disappointed by it by any means. And with that said, that's going to wrap up this episode of talking about the movies. Next week is, of course, Aquaman and the Lost Kingdom, and also Migration. So we'll have both of those movies to review next week. Maybe some other ones, too, if there's some time. But those will be the two big ones we'll take a look at next time. But anyway, thank you so much for watching. If you've seen either Wonka or Godzilla Minus One, let me know your thoughts down below in the comments. I'd really like to hear what you think about those films. So thanks for watching, everybody. I'll see you guys next time. Until then, as always, take care.